But welcome to everyone to VR MMO Church. To MMO Church, we're a part of VR MMO Church, and our mission is to cultivate loving spiritual communities across the metaverse. And we believe that church can happen at any time and anywhere. And Jesus says in Matthew 18:20, "For where 2 or 3 gather together in my name, I'm there with them." And that means that church isn't a physical building, and it's not just meetings on the weekends. It's a community of people gathered together, worshiping God together, serving God together, and doing life together. And we're a different kind of church than you may be used to. It's more casual and participatory. We have discussion and we have Q&A, and then we'll do something together if people have time. There are ground rules, though. Be nice and be respectful and don't interrupt or talk over others, and no hate speech of any kind. And everything that we're doing here, the mission of creating a loving spiritual community, the ground rules for how we treat each other, it all comes down to our love for one another. And it all starts with each and every one of us individually, and each of us have a part to play in making it a loving spiritual community. So I'm going to go ahead and open us in prayer. Father, thank you so much for everyone who's here today. Thank you for those who are going to be watching this later on video. And please speak to each of us individually, speak into our hearts, and help us to see what you would have us to see today on this important topic that we're talking about today. In Jesus' name, amen. And so we have been talking about the topic of mental health and mental illness for a few sessions now. And it has been coming up a lot more lately in social media. Major athletes have been talking about their struggles with it. And for those of you that have made it through Endwalker, definitely comes up in Endwalker. That's the latest expansion of Final Fantasy, for those that don't know. It's an important topic, and so we want to spend some time discussing it. We started a few services ago, and we're going to go for a few more. So some context for those that are new, or for those that missed some of the previous discussions, was when someone approaches anyone in church for prayer for depression, my experience and many people's experience is that they just get these canned responses that, like, you just need more faith, or just read the Bible and pray. Depression is a sin, and the worst one that is like suicide is a ticket straight to hell, and that is the worst thing that you can say to someone who just lost someone to suicide, and it could actually drive someone there themselves. So it's absolutely terrible to say that to someone, and these are the very wrong responses that people are getting from the church. And so as a response to that, we end up putting on these masks. We hide our pain, we hide our struggles, and we don't want to talk about them all, because all we get are these canned responses. And that's not helpful at all. And it drives people away when we should be drawing closer to each other and helping each other and praying for each other. And I don't claim to be an expert. I'm not a professional psychologist or a counselor. I'm muddling through this just like everyone else is muddling through this. In our first session, we talked about misconceptions around depression. And in our second and third sessions, we talked about misconceptions around suicide and navigating suicide situations. And then the last session, we started getting into more practical ways to foster better mental health. And those were through social connections and random acts of kindness. And then I gave homework, and the people that were here last time aren't here today. So I can't ask them how it went, but I did post the homework in the chat in Final Fantasy Discord if anyone else noticed it and was able to do it. Was anyone able to do it?
I don't know.
No.
I think I've seen, but I probably didn't click on the link.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. So this session, we're going to continue discussing more of those practical methods, and we're going to be talking about gratitude and forgiveness. And I mentioned it last time. The only way to make true change is to form new habits. And that means healthier habits. And it does take effort, and it takes discipline, and it takes practice. And Dr. Laurie Santos, I mentioned this last time as well. She's a professor of psychology at Yale University, and she teaches this course called The Science of Well-Being. And she reveals in this course major misconceptions about happiness. They're misconceptions about what we think will make us happy. And they're these annoying features of our minds that make us think the way we do. And she includes research findings that back up the solutions that are given. And they are solutions that are proven to work through research. They have been proven to work. And they're around forming habits that make lasting change. And I shared those links in Discord last week, and I'll share them in the notes again this week as well, and in the Discord and in the show notes again this week. So Dr. Santos's team set up these exercises called rewirement exercises, where they are practices that are aimed at rewiring your habits, and they are backed by research, and they have proven results to boost your mood and your well-being. And so we're going to continue that. And if you want to hear why we're talking about Yale University course in a church service, I do have you can refer back to the video last week. We don't really have time to go over it again this week. But we're going to continue talking about those healthy habits, starting with gratitude. And that's when we recognize and appreciate what you've received in life. And it can be little or big. It can be things or people. And you want to spend time each day focusing on these things, because that's how you're going to get into the habit. You can't build habits without doing it repetitively. And research shows that focusing on things or people that we're grateful for can make us happier, and it can rewire your brain into a more positive thinking. And there's this Happiness Lab podcast that I'll share all these things in the Discord, and in the show notes later. Her Happiness Lab podcast, she does this podcast too. The episode called Grateful Expectations. She talks about it's not just about your willpower, because that adds stress when you try to make yourself be a certain way. So you need other strategies. And just by focusing on gratitude can change how we value our future. It can help us make better short-term decisions, and which can mean less self-sabotage. We're less focused on short-term self-gratification that can ultimately end with us loathing ourselves for something we did to get a short-term gratification. And if we pay attention to the people that help us and think and focus on the gratitude for that, we don't just say thank you and move on. We think about it. We focus on that, focus on those good things. And the Bible has a lot to say about gratitude. In 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, it says, "Always be joyful, never stop praying, be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus." And it's not saying to be thankful for all your circumstances. It's saying be thankful in spite of them or during them. Focus on the good things. Focus on the gratitude. Think about thanking God in advance for the good that he'll work out of this, because he will if we let him work good out of it. And in Philippians 3:1, it says, "Whatever happens, my dear brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord. I never get tired of telling you these things, and I do it to safeguard your faith." And that means that if nothing else, be thankful that God is working, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if you don't see it. He is working, he is with you, and he loves you. So be grateful for that, if nothing else. And in Psalm 42:11, It says, "Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me? Put your hope in God, for I will yet praise him, my Savior and my God." And this helps us remember ways that he's come through in the past, and it motivates our hope for a surprise deliverance in the future out of the circumstance that we're in right now. And what are some of the things that y'all are grateful for? Are there any people that have helped you out that you care to share here in the service?
Like how like how the way the people how the way friends help me, like
Yeah. Are there some?
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, like in a way, like you really want to support them in return, or
You're just thinking about the gratefulness. How are you? Are there? What are some things you're grateful for? What are some ways that people have helped you that you're grateful for? Some people that you're grateful for.
Well, like first, I guess I can like there are some like friend like, cause I am some like I can be very uh depressed or demotivated quickly, cause I don't think I have at least not yet a strong mental state or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're like always my friend when I need to talk to them will support me, and I'm really grateful for that. And I always try to return the favor in a way or another.
Mm-hmm. Do you take the time to think on the things that they've done and to think about that gratitude?
Yeah, like um like so sometime when I'm really happy, sometimes I really like thinking it's because of them that I am like where I am. So yeah, maybe that's way in that way I see the gratitude of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I am grateful for my mother for giving me a place to live right now because I can't support myself financially. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for supportive friends who've helped me out when it's been rough. That's happened a lot. I'm grateful for that. And so those are the things that we want to focus on instead of focusing on like the situation that we're in. Like, I'm not happy that I can't support myself. Do I focus on that, or do I focus on the gratitude for my mom and my friends helping me out when I need it? And that's what helps us shift our focus. What are we focusing on? Are we focusing on the bad situation? Are we focusing on there are some good things that are happening in the midst of this? Which one are we focusing on? And so now you have some homework, and I'll post this in the Discord as well. A little bit says, I focus too much on how to solve a problem. Yeah, I do that too. Trying to fix everything myself. Sometimes, though, when I let go of that and I try to focus on, I'm not saying I'm perfect at it because I'm not. When I try to focus on God's going to bring me through this thing, and I need to be grateful to him for what he's doing, what he's working on, because it's going to be cool and it's going to surprise me. And I need to stop striving and toiling so much to try to fix it myself and do what I can, yes, but not to the point where I am just toiling and spinning wheels for nothing. If that makes sense. And a little bit says, I'm grateful to even have a Bible and the ability to read. A lot of people take it for granted. Yes, they do, especially when you look at the history of how we even got our written Bible in the first place. So many people risked their lives and so many people died to get the Bible in the format that we have it today. And it just sits on our shelves and goes unread by the majority of people. And that's sad. So yeah, it is good. It's grateful for the people that fought to get it to us and the fact that we even have it. And the fact that the people even cared enough to write it down to begin with.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Actually, I can say that I am kind of struggling with reading the Bible because it's kind of a huge, kind of a really huge book,
Yeah.
and I was not really before the Bible, not really a fan of polars or like the big books with only words.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think it's because kind of that I am kind of struggling with reading the Bible and that I kind of not strong very sometimes.
Mm. Well, it's intimidating, and it's written to a group of people that are like hundreds of years in the past, so it's difficult to understand for us, and so it takes effort to study that, and that can be intimidating.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. And there are resources out there. The Bible Project is awesome. They help people to understand the Bible and to study the Bible. And I am also starting a new Twitch stream this next Tuesday evenings. That where those Miro boards, all those post-its that you see sometimes, the study that I do. I'm going to start teaching that. It's teaching how to do that It's on Tuesday evenings, and it'll be recorded too for people who can't make it to the stream. But yeah, I'm going to start teaching that so people can study for themselves. But
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So back to gratitude. The homework is that we have a daily gratitude journal. And to do that, you take, and this is all part of building habits of how you think. Take 5 to 10 minutes each night and write down 5 things for which you're grateful for. And it's not just writing a list, it's actually taking the time. This is why 5 to 10 minutes. Take the time to focus on them and think about them. And as you're writing about them, not just quickly write your list and move on. It can be a word or a phrase, but the importance is on the thinking about it, the imagine them in mind while you're writing about them, the things, the people, the things that you're grateful for. And that's the first homework assignment for this next week. And what are some things that you guys think can hinder gratitude?
Can end or can anger?
Hinder. So keep you from being grateful.
Oh. Seems to keep away from being I guess like if you are alone and maybe like you don't have a lot of friends, maybe it can happen more that if you have some very good friends on your around you.
Yeah, we talked about social connections last week. Yeah, that's an important one. Social connection. And it doesn't have to be a lot of friends. It can be a few quality friends. It's the quality that matters, not the quantity. Because the quantity means superficial relationships that don't go very deep. Yeah. But you want a quality friendship with somebody, and just one is enough, really.
Yeah.
To help someone. But for you, like 2 or 3 is like the ideal good amount of deep relationships with people. Anything else that people think can keep us from being grateful? Did you say something, Wendell?
No, I was just wondering about something.
Oh, okay. I
Sorry.
need to turn you up a little. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was going to say that for me, I would say that it's my family with a lot of things to make sure that I can keep going on my keep going on the path to make sure to get my career done.
Mm-hmm. Are they supporting you in that?
Yes.
That's cool.
Well, I'll let you get back to it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, those are things we need to focus on those things that our families are helping us, if they are helping us. Focus on those things more than the the thing that is driving us insane right now. It's what we're focusing on. So some other things that can help, that can keep us from being grateful, are complaining, comparison, comparing ourselves to others around us, unforgiveness, lack of forgiveness. And we're going to start with talking about complaining. And that is kind of the opposite of gratitude. So instead of recognizing and appreciating what we've received, instead of focusing on those things, what we end up focusing on and sometimes seeking out bad things. And a little bit says, maybe for every complaint, we should come up with 2 positive. That is a good exercise if we can remember to do it. It's about building those habits. Yeah.
Yeah.
The research shows the opposite results of gratitude when we complain. So instead of increasing our happiness, it increases our unhappiness, and it rewires our brain into negative thinking instead of positive thinking. And it's bad for our health, and it increases our depression, and it increases our risk of heart disease. This has been, research is proving that it increases stress, it increases our risk of heart disease and bad health and depression. And another one of her Happiness Lab podcasts that I'll include links to all these. PJ and Alex Love to Gripe is what it's called. And in there it talks about, we think that venting helps us, and we often can bond with others through a shared grievance. That happens a lot. And it depends, though. Some things we think it helps us, but it really depends on the type of venting that we're doing. If we're complaining for the sake of complaining without trying to get anything helpful out of it, like change it or help each other, then that is a negative type of complaining. If you're doing it to help you to move beyond it, to help you to solve a problem, to identify a why and help solve a problem, that's very helpful. And an example of that would be what the people went through during the Holocaust. To be able to share what they went through and try to figure out the why of why that happened, to help them solve a problem and move beyond that, that is a good type of venting and talking about and sharing pain. That's a good way. But complaining about like any little thing like this, I don't know if they have this problem in France, but in America, the stickers on the fruit is something that is very annoying for almost everyone. Because it leaves all this residue on the fruit. And so, yeah, I'm starting to complain about it. So those kinds of things that we can't do anything about, we should focus less on those things. Focus more on the things that are going to help us move beyond and make positive change. Those are the kinds of things that are okay to vent about, and we should actually do that because that helps us heal and move beyond those things. Like what's going on right now with Ukraine. We are afraid. A lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are hurting for the people in Ukraine right now.
Yeah,
we
at
should
the
talk
start of
about
all this I was about.
What was that?
I said when all this started, I was very afraid.
Yeah.
Like insanely.
Yeah. and you're a lot closer to it than we are over here. And yeah, it can be scary. And so talking about why is that happening? Those are good things to talk about, but not so much so that if we are, that we let it take over and consume us and make us worry and make us anxious. And there was a good article that I found that hopefully helped you during that. And we have a support group Discord channel in our Discord server that is called support group, and there's an article in there about how to deal with what's going on in Ukraine if you're anxious about what's happening. And that was
yeah, it
some
kind
good
of
advice.
helped me like a lot.
That's good. Good.
Yeah.
So talking about those things and helping with those, that's good because we're helping each other out. But just complaining for the sake of complaining actually rewires us into thinking negatively. And research shows that complaining for the sake of it is actually makes us feel worse, and complaining to others about it makes them feel worse. And even the small things add up over time, and it builds a negative habit, and it rewires us to start thinking negatively. And again, God loves us and he wants what's best for us. And he talks about in James 5:9, do not complain, brothers and sisters, against one another, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing right at the door. And Philippians 2:14 through 15 says, do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may be blameless and pure children of God without fault in a crooked and perverse generation, in which you shine as lights in the world. So Jesus mentioned in the Sermon on the Mount that we reflect him, how we act, our attitudes towards life and towards each other. If we claim to be his followers, people watch us to see how we behave. And if we show a complaining and an argumentative attitude, we're not truly reflecting his character. We're reflecting a negativity and a darkness. And we're called to be lights. We're called to reflect his good and his merciful and loving character. So then if we're doing nothing but complaining and arguing, we're not being good representatives. But it's not just about being good representatives. It's also about working towards our own good mental health and each other's good mental health. So did anyone have anything to add to that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, like I know, like when I'm sad, I know if I talk to people about my problems, at least the people that know that I'm going with some problems, they know that, like, because some people, like, we can talk about problems because they will say, oh, you'll try to annoy me, or like I'm bored, or like they just can't stand for problems because you're not enough close to him. Like that's kind of the thing. Like I'm gonna be sure, but like the fact that like if you had 100 friends but no quality one, and when you have problems, no one's gonna help you.
Yeah,
Hi.
you need quality friends. Hi, Yoris. How are you doing? We're having our service right now. How are you doing?
Cool. I'm tired a little bit.
Very tired.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else to say? Yes, or is that? It is about.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, you can tell problems to the people that can understand you in the way that, like, they have something like maybe like you have something in common, like games or passion or something, and like it's probably like only like when you go very close to him that you can talk about your problems. Because if you like you don't like they could very handle it, because they don't also know you that much to see if this is well or this is okay or something like this.
Yeah, you got to build those relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where
But
the
it's not
quality over quantity. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, like it's not that hard. It's you just need to find the good people. There are always good people, and I experienced that in VR chat. There are
That's good.
some noisy people, but there are also some good people to talk.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's kind of the same in your life, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, in real life, in our physical world, I don't know. I guess Ready Player One calls it IRL. Earl. Yeah. Ready Player Two, actually. Good book. So another thing that can. Did anyone else have anything to say? Or actually, before we move on, Yodis left. I think we lost Wendell. He has internet issues.
Yeah.
Okay. So another thing that can impede gratitude and happiness is comparison. And so here's a little quiz. So would you rather get a job that pays $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year?
I'm sure everyone will say 50.
Everyone will say 50. Is that a joke?
It's up to people to see if it's a joke or not.
So, but in reality, would you rather get a job that pays 50,000 or 100,000?
100, for sure.
Okay. And what if? So a little bit says it really depends on the job. I'll take 50K if it's the right job. Yeah, I agree. So what if you're making 50,000 a year and you found out that everyone else at the company that you're working at makes 25,000 a year?
Well, with probably the hard work gonna do there, they'll probably kind of hurt me, especially if they do this more, like they don't put a lot much more work on it, like they have some tricks, but not the tricks that can improve the thing, but more some like kind of like, no, I'm gonna do this that way, it's gonna be better than working.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we're not talking about like whether or not they're working hard or not. Assume that you're all working the same quality, same hardness. You're all doing a good job. Assuming that. So what if making 50,000 a year? How would you feel if you found out that everyone else at your company, and assuming you're all equally qualified and worthy of working there, doing a good job, if you found out everyone else at your company was making 25,000?
I think at this stage I will be very surprised, because it's kind of weird to like I have less money than the others when we do
You're
kind of the
making
same
more.
stuff.
You're making more.
Oh, I was thinking
You're making 50,000.
Okay.
You're making twice as much as everyone else.
Hundreds.
Yeah, we're talking about 50 right now.
Oh, well.
So if you're making 50 and everyone else is making 25.
Well, if it's this, there'll probably be a reason for that. But in general, I guess I will be kind of proud that I am, like, for a reason especially, so I have much more money than others.
It would make you a little happier.
Yeah, kinda.
Let's see. A little bit says. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because like it's kind of like like I have more money than the others. That's probably because I have something in me that like maybe that can blow up something that it can be anything.
So a little bit says, that's not fair. That's favoritism. I'd find a new job. So, and again, we're talking about assuming everyone is equal and everyone is doing the same amount of hard work and same skills at a company. And then what if you found out that you were making $100,000 a year? And remember earlier we said you'd rather make $100,000 a year. Assuming that you're making $100,000 a year, what if you found out that everyone else at your company was making $200,000 a year, twice as much as you?
I'd probably be very. If I could describe my first reaction, it will be probably shocked or surprised, because that means I don't know why. Like, maybe there are reasons why I do something that I am less paid for, or that there are something that they are much more paid for.
So it would make you unhappy?
Yeah. Because there are always a reason for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. A little bit says, I would be upset. Of course, I would want to find out why. And if I can't be treated equally, I would again find a new job. Yeah. Yep. New job.
Yeah.
So they did this survey with people I think it was at their school, at Yale. And they did a survey, and they found in their research that most people would prefer, even though they said that they'd rather make $100,000 a year, when they did this second question, most people preferred to make $50,000 a year because they were making twice as much as everyone else. Which is interesting. That goes back to that whole comparison thing. And the Happiness Lab podcast, again, that's her podcast. She has this episode called A Silver Lining. And it talks about how comparison can kill your happiness. And I'll share that link as well. But in it, she interviews this sports researcher who studies Olympic athletes. And you may or may not be surprised to find that there are a lot of silver medalists in photos with very unhappy faces. However, standing right next to them is a bronze medalist who's much happier. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I really don't know.
How about you, a little bit?
I said I really don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. I was seeing how what a little bit thought.
Oh, like I tried to figure out, but I'm kind of stuck. I don't know how to describe. I'm really stuck.
The power, it's the power of reference points. What are they looking at? So our imagined alternative affects our happiness. So what we think the alternative to what our current state is affects our happiness. So the silver imagined their alternative as the gold medal. So they were very unhappy that they didn't get the gold medal. But the bronze imagined alternative was no medal at all. They made it. They made it into the top 3 and they got a medal. And that's why they were much happier, was because their perspective and what they were focusing on was very different. The silver medalist didn't imagine the possibility of not getting the medal at all. Their imagination was they got beat out of gold. And so that's why they're much happier. Unhappy. They're much more unhappy than the bronze medalist, because the bronze medalist perspective is saying, I wouldn't have even gotten here. And so we think that our imagined alternative is what will actually have happened. And most of the time, what we imagine would have happened is not actually what would have happened at all. We fool ourselves into thinking that our imagined alternative is what would have happened. And that makes us unhappy. And we also imagine how we compare to other people. And social media doesn't help that at all. We're imagining that other people are happier than we are because what we see on social media. And we forget that most of those social media posts are filtered. They are a filtered part of life. And who of us, I mean, I'm seeing a little bit more of it lately, but who of us posts pictures of themselves being lonely or unhappy? Who posts pictures of themselves fighting with their families?
Yeah.
You don't see that. What you see is the happy. You see the filtered. And so we imagine that the alternative life is better when it's not. It's really not. A little bit says, social media hurts my mental status. I have to say something. Will take a moment to type it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, I'm a VTuber. I'm a content creator, and it's probably especially in content creators, there are like some fight between the other one, and when you're kind of much more smaller than someone else, it can hurt you sometimes. And like before I didn't have like some things to keep in mind to be like not be very depressed about this, because before, like, I was really comparing myself with others,
Yeah.
with other producers, other VTubers, other other people in general, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like when you see my stuff, you can think it's freaking cool, but when I am on that mood, I could say no, it's not good.
Yeah, I've seen your stuff.
You
It's
see
cool.
yourself as the lowest.
Yeah, you're doing stuff I can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says you're comparing. Yeah. I caught myself doing that and getting really stressed out about it the last couple of weeks. And then I was working on this study for today. And it's like, yeah, I'm actually comparing myself to other people, aren't I? It's because my YouTube for my business, for my vocation, the VR stuff is, I'm not getting all of the views that people that I actually, former students of mine are getting better views than me. That I taught the same thing and they're getting better. And I started comparing myself and I had to stop and think my perceived alternative is different because actually, if I really think about it, me getting all of that attention, I am a major introvert. Me getting all of that attention would drive me insane.
Yeah.
So I need to have the right perspective here. My imagined alternative is not true. So I need to be careful with what I wish for. Okay, a little bit has typed out her thing. I see a lot of these people I know who are pregnant, and while I do have children, I lost many. I'm sorry about that. When I see them having no issues or so they don't post, it makes me depressed and feel as if God loved me less and took my babies. Sometimes I see people happily married while I have my share of problems. I doubt okay, I'm trying to keep track of where I am. I doubt myself as to how come they have it so well when I literally use everything in me to have a happy life. I always end up comparing myself to other people. Yeah, that's because of social media? Yeah, that is rough.
Yeah.
Because they're not posting about the lost ones on there. They're not posting about that stuff. Yeah. Sorry about that. That is painful.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But
and
really, like,
it was intended, social media was originally intended to be something that connects people, but it has turned into something that hurts us. And we need to be careful ourselves how we use it. It's a comparison game, a competition, a filtered life that we're not really living. and we're lying to
Mm.
ourselves, assuming that people are living these wonderful lives and we're not.
Yeah, just
and-
like
yeah.
like people think life is a game. When you have like all the power on the life when you're not. Even if you're really famous or rich,
Yeah.
it's not because you have a lot of things that people don't have, like some exclusive thing and stuff, that you control all your life. And it's in that way that I think probably some people think life is a game, when some other people think life
Oh,
is
yeah.
very, 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 very important to not joke around.
Yeah, a little bit says, I feel for that trap. They tend to forget real people read it, and they don't think about how they affect other people's lives.
Yeah.
Oh, you fell for that trap. Okay. Yeah. I usually don't do social media except to post stuff about my VR stuff. I don't even post about my personal life. But then I do sometimes wonder what kind of image does that put off. I think that I sometimes think that people are perceiving that I'm more well off than I am. I think that they're perceiving that about me. I think they're perceiving that I'm more like financially successful, more career successful than what reality is. And they're comparing themselves to me. I feel like that might be happening. I don't know that that's happening, but I feel like it might be. And I don't know how to like balance that and like take responsibility for that myself and make sure that I'm not making other people feel bad when I do post stuff. Because what I'm trying to do is help people, trying to teach people and help people learn. But how do I balance that and make sure that they're not like assuming that I'm something I'm not? I don't know. But yeah, that's a good point a little bit. It's like I don't know the answer though. I don't know how to balance that unless I do start talking about reality more. But then I need to be careful what I share too about that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. A little bit says a lot of times if you post negative stuff, people always say don't air your laundry. Well, why can we not post every aspect of life? Yeah, and that I'm seeing more and more people doing that, more and more people stopping and saying, especially my biggest network, I'm not on Facebook as much, I'm on LinkedIn a lot because that's a professional network, and I'm seeing a lot more people on LinkedIn because we're used to just talking about the professional stuff. More and more people are starting to talk about the hard stuff, the personal stuff. It's like, I went through so much stuff to get where I am. Stop assuming that I'm this successful person when I'm actually worked really, really, really hard to get where I am. And it's been a really tough life so far. So stop judging me with these false notions of what you think I am. I'm seeing a lot more of that on LinkedIn. And it's good to see. Depending on how you say it, of course, but it's good to see. Yeah. So the Bible says a lot about comparison too. James 3:14 says, "But if you are bitterly jealous and there is selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For wherever there's jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind." And that, and a little bit also said, it's not just affecting ourselves. Comparison can lead to jealousy. Jealousy can lead to hatred, and hatred can turn into all kinds of bad things. And so we need to really think about that when we compare ourselves to others. And Ecclesiastes 4:4 says, "Then I observe that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. But this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind." And Psalm 37:7 says, "Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act. Don't worry about evil people who prosper or fret about their wicked schemes." And this is what I kind of had to do with my stuff that's going on now, with the VR stuff, I had to like stop and say, okay, I need to just be myself and do things the way I'm wired to do them and stop trying to be someone I'm not to get views, because that's making me unhappy to do it. I need to trust God and wait for him and just keep doing my thing the way I'm wired to do it and stop worrying about everyone else around me. And not that they're evil, but stop worrying about everyone else around me who's prospering in different ways than I am, because I don't know what's going on in their lives either. I need to stop worrying about it. And a little bit says comparison can manifest in so many ways. Yeah. So we need to find better reference points, and practicing gratitude can help with that. And now I want to talk about, this is the last thing. The last one is forgiveness. We can hold grudges for all kinds of things, big and small. Some are petty, some are horrific things that have happened to us. And carrying those feelings of anger and resentment can have a negative impact on our well-being, because we can be preoccupied with that past hurt, and we can only see our future through the filter of that past hurt. And that hurts our future. Forgiveness, a little bit, I am guilty of it as well, and I'm going to talk about that one in a minute, about mine. But forgiveness opens new possibilities for the future that were held captive by the memory of this wrongdoing. And it can help. Forgiveness can help heal our relationships, and it can open the possibility for reconciliation if desired. But if nothing else, it opens new possibilities for your future that you've been letting unforgiveness hold captive, because you keep getting stuck in that past memory and you're not focusing on what could be good in the future. And this Happiness Lab, another Happiness Lab podcast called The Happiness Lessons of the Ancients. And this is forgiveness. And this is actually, they have a theology branch in Yale. And so that she was talking to one of the professors of theology at Yale about forgiveness. And he's showing that research shows scientific benefits of forgiveness. You can have reduced cardiac arrest. You get better sleep. You have less fatigue, of course, as a result of that. Your immune function is improved. You get less depression, less anger, and you get increased hope and compassion and self-confidence when you forgive. And why do you think it's so hard to forgive?
Maybe at the first, like, for example, me, there was the person that betrayed me, and I had a lot of, I needed to have a lot of time, a lot of months to really forgive him. Because when this happened, I couldn't, because of all the emotion with all the things happening. It was very, very horrible. But then it's only a few months ago that I could really, really be able to forgive him.
Why do you think you were able to finally?
Because like, when you're not forgiving to someone, you always think at one time, intentionally or not, about him or her. And obviously this can lead to thinking about what he or he does to you, and blah 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 blah, and that's kind of the vicious cycle. The vicious cycle. But when you forgive, you know it's done, and it lets you free of a lot of stuff, especially like you're more chill. You're more chill because you don't you know you're not gonna think again about him.
Mm-hmm.
Like your mind is very more. He can breathe again
Yeah.
because he was pressured with all the stuff happening. Because if you keep all the thing inside you and if you don't move around, it's gonna kind of ruin your life as long as you keep it. Because you're not gonna be the real you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
It's
all this stuff that stay with you is gonna stay with you and make your day kind of not that well as you expect it to be. But when all this is gone, you can really live your life, maybe not like before, but at least you can live good. Very good.
yeah. So a little bit says, I struggle forgiving because they hurt me. They will just do it again. I will seem weak, like they can walk all over me. But I find myself wanting to get back at them. And I know that's wrong and revenge is the Lord's. So it takes a while, but I do end up forgiving. Yeah, it's very difficult. And there's this misconception that knowing is half the battle. Again, it takes a lot of effort. And we also have misunderstandings about what forgiveness really means. And forgiveness is not saying what's done is done was okay or no big deal. And it's not like you're accidentally bumping into someone and saying, no big deal. These are things that have hurt us. These are especially the greater offenses. Now, some people can be unforgiving about really petty things, but we're talking about, and that you just get over it. But we're talking about really hurtful things here and these greater offenses. So forgiveness is not saying, okay, it wasn't a big deal, and it's not saying that you're going to, forgiveness is different than trust too, first of all. Forgiveness is not saying, okay, I'm going to let you back in my life to do this again. You don't want that. That's not the same as, that's not what forgiveness is. It's not forgive and forget. You need to recognize the wrongdoing, because that is a fundamental to forgiveness, is to recognize that what happened was very hurtful. It was wrong. And it can't be simply disregarded. That can result in injustice. We need forgiveness because the deed can't be undone. And it's not a one-time, one-and-done deal either. As your memories keep resurfacing, you have to keep doing it. And it can be really messy. And it's more of a practice. And also, you have to forgive ourselves for what happened. We have to forgive ourselves and stop casting blame on ourselves. Even if we've been a victim of someone else, we can often blame ourselves for letting it happen. And we need to be able to forgive ourselves too for that. Forgiveness has a structure. And this professor at Yale said it has the structure of a gift. Someone gives something to someone else. And the giver is the offended, the person who was hurt. And the receiver is the offender, the one who did the hurting. And what we're giving is forgiveness. It means not counting the wrongdoing a person has done against the person. You're separating and unsticking the deed, the thing that was done wrong, from the doer. And that's how Jesus forgives us. He says he separated our sins as far as the east is from the west. Little bit says it's harder to forgive ourselves than others. It's very true. And this forgiveness is not easy. It's not something that we can do on our own. Psalms 103:12 says, he has removed our wrongdoings as far as from us as the east is from the west. That's how he forgives us. He's separating us from our wrongdoings. He's not forgetting our wrongdoings, but he's separating those things from us so that he can continue to love us and help us. But that doesn't mean he's going to leave us where we are. He still wants that work to improve ourselves so we don't do that again. And so we don't want to fool ourselves into thinking, yeah, forgiving is just going to means letting them do it again. That's not what that means. It's complicated. It's difficult. We can't do it by ourselves. Leviticus 19:18 says, forget about the wrong things people do to you. Don't try to get even. Love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Matthew 18:21 through 22 says, then Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? And Jesus replied, no, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. And what that means is there was this tradition in the Jewish society saying that you can forgive someone up to 3 times and then that's it. But so when Peter said 7 times, he was trying to be generous. But Jesus was saying, nope, you just keep forgiving. That's not easy. Not easy at all. Colossians 3:13 through 15 says, bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, you are called to peace, and be thankful. And Ephesians 4:2 through 3 says, be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And that's freeing for the one who forgives, like Yes was saying earlier. It helps us transcend this deep sorrow and this inner rage, and it helps to move on, to no longer be stuck in that past. And then that can open us up to the path of healing. And for myself, something happened to me on the bad end of the spectrum of it wasn't petty, it was bad. And over 10 years, I was stuck, unable to forgive. And these feelings kept eating at me, and it kept me from healing. And I kept trying on my own strength to forgive the person. And every time I tried to forgive them, memories kept resurfacing. And then that anger and that resentment would come back, and it was impossible for me to do on my own. And then I prayed to God, I'm willing to forgive, but I can't. Help me to forgive a little bit. That's what I'm talking about here. Help me to forgive. It wasn't instant. It took several months after that prayer. And I heard a podcast on forgiveness. It's different than the sermons that I was used to that just gloss over it and pretend it's easy for Christians to do. It's not. The pastors actually in this one spoke about God seeing us as the forgiven and the redeemed person that he knows that we can be, and the potential that's in us through his eyes of love. That's how he sees us, and that's how he's able to forgive us. So instead of just seeing us as the person we are and the things that we've done in the past, it's this whole shift of perspective, seeing us through those eyes of love as the forgiven and redeemed person he knows we can be. And so I mulled that over for several more months. And I have mentioned before that God speaks to us through all kinds of things. We just have to pay attention and listen. So I was reading this manga called Naruto, and there were these 2 childhood friends that were like brothers, Naruto and Sasuke. And Sasuke became angry and vengeful after something really bad happened. And I'm trying not to give spoilers to people who don't know the story. But vengeance led him to do really bad things in return. And Naruto never gave up on him. And for most of the story, I thought that Naruto was just stuck in the past. He was the one stuck in the past, only seeing the childhood friend refusing to see the truth of who he had become. But towards the end of the manga, during this epic battle, it finally clicked with me that he wasn't just stuck in the past. He was looking at Sasuke as the person he knew he could be. And that's how he was able to keep forgiving regardless of what Sasuke did. And then I asked God to help me see this person how he sees this person that I've had trouble forgiving, and he did. And oh, the things that God can do with someone like that who has been redeemed and forgiven. And for a while, the memories did keep resurfacing, and they do still sometimes. That I had to stop and remind myself that I chose to forgive. And I was actually able to let go of that anger and begin healing. And it doesn't mean that I trust the person or I want them back in my life. It is still unsafe. You don't want that. It means that I've moved past it so they can't keep hurting me all these years later. And so now we have a second homework assignment. Think of one person that you've been unable to forgive, if there is someone, and spend at least 5 minutes every day asking God to help you see them the way He sees them, and ask Him to give you the strength to forgive them, because again, we can't do it on our own. And I'll put these homework challenges in the Discord as well. So this week, we have a daily, that's March 27th through April 2nd. We have a daily gratitude journal. Spend at least 5 minutes each night to write down and think about 5 things for which you're grateful. And then the following week, April 3rd through 9th, is think of one person that you've been unable to forgive, and then spend at least 5 minutes every day asking God to give you the strength to forgive them. And it's possible that that person might be yourself, if there's not someone else that you can think of. Is there something you can't forgive yourself for? And then the next session is in 2 weeks, and we will continue going over practical ways to foster better mental health. Then did anyone else have anything more to say?
Yeah, that's the thing, like we need to think about the fact that forgiving someone, if you already want to forgive someone, it's already a success in a way.
Mm.
But it's not gonna be like just like you clap your finger,
Yeah.
like a finger clap.
Mm-hmm.
We need to think about the fact that it can take a lot of time.
Yeah.
But the longer the time can be, maybe the better the forgiveness can be also. Because if you want to forgive right now, well, like it's not like I don't want you to forgive right now. You can, obviously, but like you really need to think about the whole stuff, because it's not something as you told, like hey, sorry, I just bumped you. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's really a huge thing. And if it's like makes you hungry about that person, or disappointing him, or maybe have some bad emotion towards this person, that's because it's a serious thing, but not a short-term emotion, a long-term one. And that's why, even if it's hard, you need to forgive, because obviously it's not very um, easy to forgive someone that makes you hurt,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. It's worth it for yourself too. Yeah. Definitely for
Yeah.
yourself. And imagine all the things we've done against God that He's forgiven us for. What right do we have to not forgive anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah. But even that wasn't helping me forgive. I knew it, but it wasn't helping me. So it took a long time. Yeah. Yeah. All the broken bargains. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did anyone have any prayer requests that we can we do have a prayer request channel in our Discord, or you can type something here in the channel, or if you can just speak it if you want us to pray about anything today.
I guess we can pray for the people who are in kind of the situation where they are not forgiving someone, I guess. Because I know I mean, probably a lot of people experienced that during their way to the face, as I did.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's really important if it's just like also something that nothing to do with face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like, I don't like. It's not my type that praying while talking. Like, I always pray in my mind because I felt more good at it like this.
Yeah. And Lilbet has some prayer requests as well. I hear that if y'all are ready, we can pray. Father, thank you again so much for everyone who came today, and thank you for the ones that are going to watch this later on video. Thank you for caring enough for us to give us this path to better mental health and physical health. And please help all of those people out there who are caught in unforgiveness. It is such a hard thing to do, to forgive. And I know this from personal experience. It is so hard. And help each and every one of us to see the path to forgiveness. Give us the willingness to forgive and help us to see the path to it, and that it can only be done through you, through your strength, because we don't have it in ourselves. Help us to see it and help us to work to get there, all of us. And please bless Lilbet's daughter as she goes into surgery on Tuesday. Give mom her peace and give the daughter peace, because surgery is a scary thing. Even if it's just something minor, it can still be a scary thing, especially for a little one. And Father, please bless them and give them peace, and give the doctors wisdom and discernment and care and love for the little one and for the mom as they go through this. And please, God, the situation in Ukraine and Russia right now, Father, please send your angels there to intervene in ways that we can't see. This is such an incomprehensible thing that's going on right now, Father, that only you can fix. Please work in Putin's heart. Work in those who, if there are any who are willfully supporting him, work in their hearts. Work in the hearts of all the people who are following through with the directions. Work in the hearts of those who are defending their homes with their lives. All of those people whose lives are disrupted by this on both sides of Russia and Ukraine, and everyone in the countries that are helping them, Father. Help them all. Give us hope. And give us peace. Peace that only you can give. And that's peace here on earth, and peace as you will have it in heaven. And thank you for your patience and your provision with us. Thank you for meeting us where we are. Thank you for loving us, and thank you for being for us. You do love us, and you have called us to help each other. Help us to keep our eyes open to the needs of those around us and to not be so focused on our own issues. Help us to not keep comparing ourselves to others and lying to ourselves about what other people's lives are like when we have no idea what their lives are like. Remind us, Father, that we don't know the whole truth when we compare ourselves to each other. And when people hurt us, help us to see past those hurts to the source of their pain so that we can help each other, and give us the strength to forgive each other, and let us to know that we are not alone, even if it may feel like it. You are working even when we don't see or feel it. And thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
A little bit has a message for you. Remember, God wants to hear the voice of his children crying out to him.
Yeah.